Hi everybody, Dr. Glassmoyer here. Tonight I want to chat just a little bit about an important question that someone asked me earlier today regarding narcissism and if it is possible to have a healthy amount of narcissism in your personality. Absolutely, we can have a healthy dose of narcissism, and in fact, many successful people do. So we see a lot on the internet of people talking about narcissists and sociopaths and, as if we can meet someone in our life and simply diagnose them with these things. As a person who's trained to diagnose personality disorders and things like depression, anxiety, PTSD, etc., I'm here to tell you it's not that easy, and we definitely don't want to label other people. There is an important reason to learn about narcissistic tendencies in a person, and particularly when they do reach that threshold where they're so rigid that they're really showing up in a very problematic way. We want to educate ourselves about that with regard to how this behavior, this way of being, is impacting each of us or not. So if you're in an intimate relationship with someone who has a little bit of narcissism in their personality, maybe sometimes they're going to show some of these traits, but they're also going to have the ability to kind of step back and have some balance and be able to recognize, oh, okay, maybe I'm not perfect. Someone who has more pathological narcissism, or like narcissistic personality disorder, doesn't really have that ability. They've got a blind spot. And the blind spot comes from a personality that is formed around hurts that happened early in their life. Now, if you are what I like to call a narcissistic magnet, then you need to be really careful here in terms of the level of compassion that you give away. What I mean by that is that I want you to first think about having compassion for yourself and how the behavior of others impacts you. So if you're in a toxic relationship, in a lot of cases, you have had more compassion for that other person and let him get by with things and believed his lies and questioned yourself rather than him in the midst of the manipulation and all of that. So yes, by all means, educate yourself about narcissism. Educate yourself about antisocial personality disorder or whatever, but don't diagnose somebody. And just really important that we know each of us is human. None of us are perfect. So when you hear me talking about a narcissist, I am talking about a person who has so much narcissism in their personality that it has reached a threshold where it's harming other people who are closest to them. So in no way do I ever want to be interpreted as someone who has lost compassion for those who have narcissistic personality disorder or any other mental health condition that they might struggle with. I do have compassion for them. And yet, if someone was in my life really close to me who is exhibiting the types of behaviors, the way of being, the belief system, the manipulations that we see consistent with someone who has a pathological amount of narcissism, believe me, I am going to step back, I'm going to set boundaries, and I'm going to have compassion for myself and the others that I love in my life, and really get some perspective and some balance. So my hope tonight is that I can lend some balance to this thing out there that seems to be everywhere, where people are talking about narcissists and narcissistic sociopaths. And do they exist? Absolutely they exist. If you look at the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, it says that approximately up to 6.2 or so % of the population may meet the threshold for narcissistic personality disorder. Of those people, 50 to 75% are males. there are other personality disorders that we see showing up more in females, like borderline personality disorder. So when I speak to women about the narcissist in their life, the person who has so much narcissism that it's entrenched and makes it nearly impossible to have a healthy relationship with this person, I am speaking to women about taking care of themselves, about being able to put themselves in the list of people that are important that they care about. And the dynamic of a relationship when you are with someone who has so much narcissism that it would reach the threshold of narcissistic personality disorder, there's so much confusion for the person who's being victimized by this, that person needs help. They need support. So again, is it always the woman? No. There are women who have a lot of narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, but I have a passion for helping women to be able to identify, to break free, and to recover from toxic relationships. It's not always about narcissism, but a lot of times it is. So I'm just going on record here that the people in my life who have shown up with a lot of narcissism in their personality, even those that if they were evaluated by someone else might have been diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, even though I'm a psychologist, I'm educated and trained and skilled and qualified to diagnose this, I'm not going to diagnose the people who are close to me. Not appropriate. So I don't want to encourage you to do that. So when you hear me use the word, you know I'm using it as a descriptive word that has to do with behaviors that are entrenched. So like any personality disorder, we're looking at a continuum of traits and features going to show up, and they're in certain situations, and then they're going to balance out. We all have that in our personality, and some of the aspects of narcissism can almost be healthy, but not when it reaches that end of the continuum and it is at the threshold of narcissistic personality disorder and so entrenched that that person has blind spots. So in one of my earlier videos, I talked about the no contact rule, getting space for yourself so that you could heal. And I also mentioned space so that he can heal as well. And some people might question that. Like, what do you mean? He was so cruel to me. He made my life so difficult. Why would we want space for him to heal? Well, I'm here to tell you that somebody who has a lot of narcissism, approaching narcissistic personality disorder, has a blind spot. And until the losses in their life start adding up, they have no reason to seek help, to know that they need to heal. And in their hurt, they go on to perpetuate that same sort of toxic dynamic with other people in their life. And I want to help to prevent that for women. So a person who has narcissism, lots of it, when you break off a relationship with that person, if you join the, let's call it the harem of old girlfriends who continues to chat on the phone with them over the years and feed their ego, you are not contributing to that person's motivation to figure out what the losses are about in their life. Why do women who try to love them end up being hurt and confused and want to leave them? All right. So when you decide to do no contact, absolutely, first and foremost, it is a move of compassion for yourself. You're setting a boundary for yourself. You're also giving that person with a lot of narcissism in their personality some very important information. That healthy relationships are about mutuality. They're not a competition. They're not a win-lose. They're not let's see who can crush the other in an argument, who can control the other. Not about that. It's about sharing, hearing one another, being willing to put aside your perspective, and to empathize. And that's something that comes very, very difficult for a person who has a lot of narcissism. So there are three things that we see as hallmarks of narcissism, pathological narcissism at the far end of the continuum in someone's personality. grandiosity, and over the top, insatiable need for adoration and affirmation external from themselves. And thirdly, we see a lack of empathy, an inability to put themselves in someone else's shoes. So when you're trying to have a mutual give and take, loving, mature relationship with somebody, and they are constitutionally unable to get past these three things, it's not a relationship that's going to improve. And you'll remember previously, if you've seen my other videos, I spoke about the fact that one person cannot fix a toxic relationship. No matter how awesome you are, no matter how kind, no matter how loving, no matter how much you give, it is only going to drain you and deplete you and confuse you and hurt you and leave you with not a lot to offer. It is not going to heal the relationship, nor is the person with all that narcissism in their personality going to get it. So I hope that helps. I'm not one who likes labels. Labels are simply so that it guides us. It helps us to be able to understand patterns. And in my work as a psychologist, it helped me know how to help the person, how to treat them. So when you hear me saying narcissism, again, a person is not a narcissist. It is a person with narcissism in their personality. And so when we start to say narcissist or N or narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, these are simply shortcuts. They are labels. We are still talking about a human being. So hope that lends some perspective. I will look forward to seeing you again soon. Keep the questions coming. Anything you want to know, you can reach me on my website, www.drdrdenise, D-E-N-I-S-E, glassmoyer.com. You can reach me there. You can send me an email at denise@drglassmoyer.com, or you can contact me through the contact form on my website. However you get to me, I love hearing from you. Make it a great night, and I will see you soon. Bye.